or G1 story arc is, being with like the IDW comics, like you see that a lot more in Megatron. Like he's he's almost like a supremacist in those, like he, just like the technological life is better, and you can even see it in like hints of Prowl. Prowl's is like one human does not equal one Cybertronian. And like that's Prowl's Optimus is what, #2 guy in the books.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting the route that IDW took it, and especially like instead of just Earth, Megatron took down like a couple of 100 planets or a couple of 1,000 planets or whatever.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Megatron actually in the first movie, I think he thumps a human and says insect.
Oh yeah,
right.
yeah. I think he did. He pretty much just like plucked.
Yeah, he plucked one and
like
said,
plucking an ant crawling on a table.
Right.
Just like, get out of here, like, get away.
But you said something about there have been Autobots that have always questioned Optimus about the same thing. With their thought process being, we are more than these people. Why do you take the time to try to make sure that nobody gets hurt or everybody's safe when we're actually more important than these humans? They've had a lot, they've had conversations.
Right. Basically, look out for us first.
Yeah.
When you go back to Mirage, that was sort of his character type. It was, I don't want to be on Earth. Like, this is, these people aren't anything to me. Like, I want to go home. So, and like his whole character is sort of counter to the whole good guys, bad guys, because he's a saboteur. Like that was a whole like unique thing to being a good guy. It's like, okay, so you're not really all that good because you're sneaking around, doing all this, the sneaky stuff to the Decepticons, which that's what the Decepticons do to the Autobots, but you're doing it right back to them. It's like, so I mean, right from the start, it's like there's always that weird gray area between the Autobots and the Decepticons that you didn't have in any of the other 80s cartoons and stuff that was going on.
They seem like they're a perfect example of each side thinks that they're actually the good guy.
Yeah.
That's true.
Except Optimus Prime really is the world's greatest stepdad.
That's probably why we liked Optimus Prime so much as a kid, because we were like, when the Transformers come, he's the only one that really has us humans back.
Right. Well, it's
true.
It's true.
In the Beast Wars community, we call Prime the truck father.
The truck father. Nice.
Whenever Dad went out for smokes and didn't come back, truck father stayed around.
Well, that's what the one guy who actually changed his name to Optimus Prime. Like, that's what he said. Like his father he just left him, so he had Optimus Prime, and he just adored Optimus Prime so much. He's like, I'm just going to change my name to Optimus Prime, and I think he convinced his wife to name herself Elita 1. I think he eventually did that, and then they started naming their kids Transformers names.
Oh my goodness!
It's a crazy story just to find
come
out.
Here, Prowl.
Yeah. I think he was like a firefighter in the military.
I'm having a spark attack.
He goes to the hospital. Doc, you mind checking my oil?
Oh man!
Liquid nitrogen.
I think my transformation cog is stripped. But yeah, it's true with Optimus, because even in the cartoon, like all the characters, nobody questioned Optimus in the G1 cartoon. Like nobody, like none of them. Even Mirage, who really didn't want to like fight.
Right.
He was, none of them were ever disrespectful to Optimus. Like I'm trying to think of any time that they may have like any of them may have backed him. Maybe the Dinobots. I mean, if you count them, but they. In the G1 cartoon, they technically weren't really fully Autobots anyway. So, but Optimus, he really did lead them, like in a fatherly manner. Like he cared for them, and like they all looked up to him, and I don't know, he really did have that quality. Optimus really did, and I think that's what resonated with a lot of little kids. And you hear stories about about that all the time. A lot of kids, like both parents worked. And they would go home just, and watch Transformers, and it's kind of like, well, Optimus Prime was sort of like their example, like for a certain portion of their life, So, I don't know. I definitely think that there's a certain bit of merit to that.
Right.
I want to hear more about this Transformer family.
I know, right?
This is the first time I've heard about that.
Yeah, he was like a firefighter in the army or something. He was, over and he fought in Iraq and everything. It's a really weird story if you can find anything out about him.
I remember seeing, he was a member on some of the boards.
Yeah, he was Mr. Optimus Prime or something on the board. So.
Who'd have thunk?
Right?
His Twitter handle something like the real Optimus Prime.
I think he's like back when everybody would put their signature pictures, like they'd have their avatar, like their user avatar, and then their signature picture like underneath. Right. And I think it actually was like his driver's license, like literally with it printed, with it like written out on his driver's license. Yeah, I do remember that. It's funny. A couple of years ago here, I met this guy, and he had his son within his stroller, and the guy had an Autobot symbol shirt on. I'm like, oh, you Transformers fan? He's like, yeah, you could say that. He's like, my son's Orion Pax. Like straight up, like and basically like he and his wife like had some sort of deal that if it was going to be a boy, he could name the boy anything he wanted, and then if it was going to be a girl, the wife could name the daughter anything she wanted. And it turned out it was going to be a boy, and he should have named the kid's name was first name Orion, middle name Pax. Last name, I don't know what their last names were.
I thought Jim Sorensen was getting away with a good deal. Like, isn't his son's name James Magnus or something like that?
Yeah, is it really? He's like, oh, but I'm of Norwegian descent, so I can use Magnus as an actual name.
That's a real name. It is a real name, yeah.
So, wow, lucky him, right?
Yeah.
He could have been worse. Orion Pax is at least.
That's a cool name. Like Orion is a real name. Like Orion, you can really call him Orion, Maybe he grows up in school and his nickname's Opie. Like OP,
It's like, it's an Irish name, Orion.
As comic book guys and artists, have you ever had a need, or have you ever created like a completely original character, something that I feel is in short demand, or not short demand, short supply? And in Transformers, the last new character we got, I think prior to like the RID 15 cartoon, was Drift, and that was 8 years ago. 8 or 9 years ago.
Like, do you just mean like any
just an original character,
even like a fan character?
Have you ever tried to pitch something, or tried to work it in somehow, or like made designs like, hey, I think this would be cool?
I mean, I've pitched things like in work, and some of it sort of makes it through, and in different ways. I mean, usually, with my, occupation or I don't know, place in the whole chain of production, it's really early on. So a lot of what I would, maybe I would throw in little suggestions or notes with whatever it is I'm working on. And it goes through so many hands, and they have to make, there's always a budget. I mean, when a toy comes out, it's got to meet a certain price point. So certain things will get like kind of costed out. But as far as like an all original character, I mean, I had my fan character, who's basically was my car. But aside from that, like I've never had anything like completely designed that actually made it into like the lore.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, even I wouldn't necessarily like made it into the lore, but like you said your fan character that was your car. Like you've got like robot designs for it, and
that basically a working
the whole
concept, yeah.
So my fan character was Night Viper, who was basically RID Sideburn as a Decepticon. I mean, it wasn't mentioned at all. It was just basically a purple repaint of the Sideburn. But as far as getting new characters in lore, like I needed to do some newscasters for some of the club comics, and it's like we have Rook, and then Nick Roche gave us Andromeda, and I'm like, well, I want to do a couple other ones, so I came up with Bishop, Bishop and Rook, whole chess match thing. Cool. And then I did so it was Andromeda and Cassiopeia. Again, playing on Andromeda being the Greek goddess and everything. So I did those, and I had the robot mode, and I had the alt modes and everything like that. Never gonna get noticed. No one's gonna remember them after 5 years. But then working on the BotCon and Club Toys, there's times where I pitch new characters for the Pirates vs. Knights. We wanted to do a new character for the Pirates, a brand new character. So I took the Prime Dreadwing mold, and he's got like those wings that come down. Like, I'm looking at Google searches for pirates, and I'm coming up with this anime Captain Harlock. Harlock, yeah. And
what is the spaceship? Was it Yamato? Or,
right, and this is
Arcade.
This is a cool design. These are cool colors. So I'm going to put those colors, and I'm going to put a head on this guy with a pirate hat, and you know, the crossbones on the front of it. And I think I named him like Blood Moon or something like that. And he almost made it to be pitched ahead, bro.
Oh,
really?
But it was like, okay, it's a Voyager mold, which you know is probably like a $70 figure in the set. That's not really the right place. Let's just go back and do like Cannonball and stuff that people know as pirates.
Mm-hmm.
Almost happened, but that would have been a cool figure.
Yeah.
I always wanted like new characters, and that's why I like the 3H stuff so much. You know, they were all new characters,
Right.
and every time Fun Pup did a new character, I was on it. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what was Landshark was the
Landshark, yeah.
last one, wasn't he?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
We were even talking about like, you know, new characters on one of our shows that Rick and I, we love the Little Pretenders we were talking about that are coming out, and we're like, yeah, once you get through all the Pretenders that are like, you know, that exist, I would love if they would just like come up with new crazy ideas, you know, for those Little Pretender shells, because it seems like it's one of those things where if it flops a little, you know, it doesn't do as well. It's one of the cheaper little toys, so it's not as big of a hit, you know. But if it's successful, then hey, maybe we revisit this later down the line and make it a deluxe, you know. It seems like it would be the perfect opportunity to kind of like, let's see where this goes. And you know, I would buy it. Anything you put in those little Pretender shells that are like $5, I love them.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I wouldn't object to that either. I'd love to see more of that stuff. But yeah, new characters introduced into the lines. I mean, it is always cool too. Like, in fact, you know, I think like Strong Arm and OID.
Yeah.
You know, there were previous. I guess the only other version of Strong Arm was in Energon, right? Was that the first one?
Yeah, they've used the name
Jeep.
a couple of times. I think it started off as a Mini-Con, and then it was the Jeep and Energon.
But as far as like a brand new character,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, these are all simple characters.
What's the crab one? I can never think of the. Bliss.
Bisque.
Bisque.
And
like,
there was Bisque was the lobster.
The crab was
Clamp Down.
Clamp Down.
Yeah.
But I don't think they'd ever used the name Bisque before. Like,
no,
so
for sure.
You know,
lobster named Bisque, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I already gave a lot of cool new characters like Quillfire and Springload the Toad.
So we've gone through history and characters and art, but what was it about Transformers that got you hooked?
Oh man, as a kid, for me, I mean, just
the fact that it was nothing like you'd ever seen.
Well, and that's just it too. Yeah, I remember seeing Transformers. I was 7. I was born in '77, so I was 7 in '84. And when I saw that, my jaw just hit the ground. Like, because I think a kid brought one to school. I don't even know if I don't remember if I had seen a commercial for it or if I saw the cartoon. But I remember there was this one kid in school who was in 2nd grade. And I remember he brought one to school, and I was just like, wow, like this is incredible. Like, that's a car, but it turns into a robot. And I don't remember which one it was. I just remember just the concept, and I remember a kid bringing it to school. And then after that, like, I had like that year, like I wanted all of them. And by the end of the year, I pretty much had the whole like wave 1 of the Autobots. I think in the Decepticons, I didn't have like I didn't have all the Decepticons. I pretty much had all like the main Autobots. But it was like, yeah, it's just the transformation. You know, like we say it all the time. Like, it's kind of the perfect toy. Like, you've got a car, you've got a toy car, you've got an action figure, and you've got the puzzle. Like, you've got the way, like, it's like a Rubik's Cube. Like, okay, you've got this, you can make it convert if you move this part here, and this becomes this part, and it's like that. You got 3 in 1 right off the bat. You got 3 toys in 1. So I mean, for me, I was always about the toys before the fiction. Yeah, but the cartoon really like drove it home for him. Yeah.
I was sort of born into it. My brother had a 2-year head start on me and all this stuff. So he'd have all the Transformers. He'd have Masters of the Universe and Turtles and Ghostbusters and all that he would have gotten into. And I sort of got like his hand-me-down toys. So, but yeah, with Transformers, it's like you're saying, I would look at Masters of the Universe, which I loved. Ghostbusters not so much, Turtles not so much, but it would be like, okay, so that's an action figure, he does all this stuff. If I don't like that character, what do I want out of that toy? But with like the Transformers, like I didn't need to know the characters. It's like, it's a car, and it's a robot, and you can do all this stuff with it. You don't really, I mean, the characters are great, I mean, don't get me wrong about that, but you don't need them really to appreciate those toys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the toys, I mean, I've always felt like the fiction always, it really, really drives it home. Like that's, like I said, when the cartoon, when I finally saw the cartoon, then yeah, it really did solidify it. But I do still feel like the Transformers, they really still can exist without any fiction attached to them. I mean, the fiction helps, but I don't think it's like totally essential.
Right.
So yeah, I think we're coming up on like the hour. So I don't know. Do you guys have any other idea, like discussion concepts or anything? Any other questions?
You're the comic.
What's your favorite Beast Wars character and why is it Dinobot?
Well,
it's Cheater, and it's because it's not Dinobot.
Yeah. I will say too, though. Yeah. Speaking of that, because you know what also turned me a little bit on Beast Wars, even back then on the toys a little bit, were Transmetals. And I think Transmetal Optimus Primal kind of caught my eye, but Optimal Optimus was just like, that thing was just so cool. It was huge, and all the colors and the chrome, and yeah.
Now, I remember finding Optimal Optimus. It was weird. It was like 3 months before he was supposed to be actually released. It was at a Walmart in the garden center. For some reason, it was just, that was the only toy in the garden center. It was stacked like 20 of them and up on the back wall. And I'm like, what is that? So I got the toy before like they showed the cartoon, and like that ending where, you know, Megatron kills Optimus Prime and everything at the end of season 2. Like I already had the Optimal Optimus toy. I'm like, okay, so this is how he comes back and everything. I had like this whole story made up from this Optimal Optimus. Like, okay, so they killed Optimus, but Grimlock takes over and makes all of the Maximals badasses. So that's why Optimal Optimus is like this giant dude now.
Yeah.
Imagine that, but thinking it's Optimus Minor. That's because I had Optimus Minor first, and I was like, oh no.
Oh no! What did I do?
So yeah, I mean that's pretty much Transformers how I see it right now.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see myself not being a fan ever. So
Right.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be going anywhere anytime soon.
I mean, as a fan, you can bitch and moan all you want,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day,
Yep.
End of the day, you're still spending that money.
yeah.
Absolutely.
If y'all, I don't know when y'all want to end, but as kind of a little funny question, we talked about, you know, the person that's naming their kids, you know, Transformer names, and the guy changing, you know, his name and his wife's name to Transformer names. You have to name a child a Transformer character's name. What name are you going with?
Oh,
Because they can't ever change it throughout their life.
It's on the birth certificate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you want
Ariel.
Ariel? Okay,
Ariel.
for
That's a cheat.
female?
It's a cheat, but I would do Ariel. Well, I actually.
What about a guy too, though?
Oh, for a guy. Oh.
Or a guy and girl, I guess we could say.
Well, for the girl anyway. If I ever had a daughter, I would want to name her Erin after the Farscape character, Erin Soon. So Erin, Ariel. That's how I came up with that. Like
Okay.
5 years. For a boy. Yeah, let me stop. I really don't know. You go ahead and I'll think about it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I've already been beaten to it, but I mean, Orion is cool.
That's true.
That is cool, dude. I mean, when he said that, I was like, man, like you can't really balk at that. Orion Pax, like, dude, that's a dynamic name, and it doesn't. You're not naming your son Sideswipe. You know, like
Minosaur.
So, yeah, exactly, yeah, or that, or Bruticus, or
Motor Master.
So another cheat then, I'd probably do Dion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And make sure that it's Dion, not pronounced any other way.
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as a girl, I mean,
Dion, yeah.
Elita is cool. Elita, like Lita, like you think of like.
Lita and the Swan?
Alita, yeah.
I don't know if that's the story you want to be naming your daughter after, though.
I don't know anything about that. But yeah. I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, Ariel's cool, too. I mean, I'm not going to name her Moon Racer. Or,
Moon Racer.
like... So it's like you're sort of limited unless you just really want to ruin your child's life. Like, hey, Moon Racer, get over here.
I'm gonna name my daughter Prowl.
You do it just so that you can always just laugh at him when he's like, "Yeah, go out there and introduce yourself to like your new teammates on your T-ball." Yeah, I'm Preda King.
But that would be like, dude, like
Volcanicus.
thinking about that, like I had a little kid, like, he goes out on the football field and he's like, I'm Megatron. Like, that'd be the baddest ass little kid, man.
That kid probably would never get
Where's
picked
that
on, right?
Detroit Lions player who named himself?
Oh,
Megatron?
Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, Calvin Johnson.
I gotta. There's a dude that I don't know him, but I know him, and he lives in Canada, and he legally changed his name to Megatron.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's dedication. Well, guys, thanks for coming, and it's been fun talking with you.